Okay, so advantages of DBMS. What are the advantages of DBMS? We are going to study now. First advantage is reducing data redundancy. Okay, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by redundancy is a duplication. Now, as I said, four people are sitting and storing all the data, right? Getting the details, storing it. They have huge number of files, what they are storing it. But in case if these people are updating or if the people are entering same data, what is entered by the other student, other person, then you get a notification that the same data is there previous also. So what I can do, I can manage the data. I can check whether the same data is there or not. Because of it, what happens? Multiple copies are not created. I just have one copy, one student, and I have one record, right? So here, the file-based data management systems contained multiple files that were stored in many different locations in a system, right? I had multiple files and they had stored in different locations. One was stored in C drive, same file was stored in D drive, or even across multiple systems. Not only in PC1, but PC2, 3 also had these files. Because of this, there were sometimes multiple copies of the same file, which lead to data redundancy, right? Multiple copies are created, which are not necessary. And that much space is taken by these files. This is prevented in a database as there is a single database and any changes in it is reflected immediately. So if I say a database also should have single copy, right? Multiple copies are not allowed for the same record. So it reflects, it tells me that the same data file is there also. Okay. So I have, because of this, there is no chance of encountering any duplicate data. Okay. So because of this, what happens? No duplicate values are considered in a database. So my first advantage is sometimes if it's a human makes mistake, but it's a DBMS, it's a system, right? It will not make any mistakes for duplicating errors. Then next is sharing up of data. Sharing up of data. Now I have the same file to be shared by many people, right? This is also possible because I have centralized database. So anyone from any computer, any system can log into my account, can log into the database, make the changes, and it can save it. Okay, so in a database, the users of a database can share the data among themselves. Okay, there are various levels of authorization to access the data. Now, this level of authorization is if, for example, I have given or I have permitted many people around, the people in my system, in my bank, if I consider it as a bank. So many people are there whom I have shared my data and all are working. But there was an error that the unnecessary data was deleted. Okay, but the important unnecessary data is deleted, it's okay. But important data, if it is deleted, then that creates a problem, right? So I have to give them the levels of authorization. That means who can delete the data, who can update the data. Only the manager can delete the data, whereas the employees who are sitting at the desk, they cannot delete any data. They can only make the changes, right? So there are certain levels of authorizations given to share the data, delete the data, to access the data. Consequently, the data can only be shared based on the correct authorization protocols, right? If I want the people on the desk, the receptionist, they just have to view the data. They cannot make any changes. They cannot see anything. They cannot delete anything, right? So I am giving certain authorizations, and only they can see, only they can view the records, view the data. That thing I have given to them, right? So there are certain levels of authorizations, certain protocols are being enforced, and that can be done for sharing up of data. Many remote users can also access the database simultaneously and share the data between themselves. Remote users is they are side by side. or they are a little bit far, okay, many users can connect together and they can use the database very efficiently and very effectively. Okay, so second point advantage is sharing up of data. Next, you have data integrity. Now, what do you mean by data integrity is data integrity means that the data is accurate and consistent, right? In database, whatever I have stored, okay, if I have stored some wrong data, then it could be wrong. But apart from if I have entered any corrected data, that corrected data will be there in database, right? So what does the database tally is the data correct? If I have entered any name in the roll number column, then it will give me the error that you have entered wrong data in wrong column. Okay. So the data is accurate and consistent in the database. Data integrity is very important as there are multiple databases in a DBMS. Now, not only I have I have one database, okay? That database has many different tables. Fine. But this database also I have many different databases. Okay, so it's a kind of galaxy wherein I have one uh, solar system and the other planets, like same like that. Okay, so if this database is there, I have many more big databases. Okay, so I can say that one database is divided into many databases, many sub databases, right? And then the databases are divided into tables, and these tables will have rows and columns. Okay, so it's a very huge network. All of these database contains data that is visible to multiple users, right? If I have a centralized bank data, so all the bank people can see the data, right? So multiple users at a time can see the data, what is saved in the database. So it is necessary to ensure that the data is correct and consistent in all databases and for all the users. Right? So while entering the data only, I should be careful that I don't enter any wrong entries, right? Because it is being shared by many people around. So data integrity is no wrong data. Right? I can update the data. I can delete the data if I am a manager. Right? So many different things are there. But the thing is, the database helps me to see that the data is not incorrect in the database system. Okay, it will make sure that the data is proper and the data is correct as I have mentioned it. If I say roll number has to be numbers, then in roll numbers it has to be number. I cannot enter any alphabets there. Right? If I say name, so in name I cannot enter any number. It is just the name. Right? Okay. Understood data integrity? Okay. So data security is the next advantage. Data security is a vital concept in database, right? If I am storing a huge data, if I am storing such a big data, then it should be safe, it should be secure, right? And no one else can come and check my data or can hack my data. No. So data security has to be a very important point. Only authorized users should be allowed to access the database, right? Only authorized. I cannot have unauthorized users coming and logging in. I made some people authorized, only they can log in and they can change. And their identity should be authenticated using a username and password. Right? So I should have a username, I should have a password. Then only I can log into the database. Unauthorized users should not be allowed to access the database. If they are not authorized, no access to the database. under any circumstances as it violates the integrity constant, right? In any circumstances, any situation, the person should not be given any authority. That database data security is managed by the DBMS. Okay. 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 Next advantage is privacy. Now, as I said, okay, so we saw different advantages, right? Reducing data redundancy, sharing up of data integrity, data security we have seen, and now it's privacy. The privacy rule in a database means only authorized users can access the database according to its privacy constants, right? Only the authorized people can access. That is what is privacy. I'm keeping all my data private. There are certain levels of database access, and a user can only view the data he is allowed to. Okay. So if I say manager can see everything, manager can do everything, delete, add, update. Okay. But the thing is, only the receptionists who are there at the desk, what they can do is they can just view the data and they can tell how much is the balance, how much is the amount is credited, debited, all these things only he can view. So he cannot view the data which is not allowed for him to see. Okay, so I am creating certain restrictions. Only this data can be seen by the particular person. Then I have second thing, the officer can see a bit big data, and then the manager can see all the data, right? So this is the employee, he is given only few validations, only few authorizations, but then the officer is given a higher priority, and then the manager, right? So these are all levels of authorization, according to which my data is privately secured properly. Next is backup and recovery. Okay, database management system automatically takes care of backup and recovery. So there's no need for me to see that daily I need to keep a backup, daily I need to recover the data which is lost. No, nothing. The database system itself is designed in such a way that it takes backup. If you want, it takes the backup weekly as we have for WhatsApp, right? We have monthly, weekly, yeah, daily, all that kind of backups are possible with the help of DBMS. The users don't need to back up data periodically because this is taken care of by the DBMS. Moreover, it also restores the database crash after a crash or system failure to its previous condition, right? So it automatically recovers if some crash occurs, it will automatically recover the files. Okay, so privacy and backup and recovery are the different advantages. Now, the last advantage is development and maintenance time. If I think of creating tables, adding up rows and columns, then adding many different things, I can do that with the help of okay. So development and maintenance time. DBMS reduces application development and maintenance time. It reduces what it reduces application development and maintenance time, right? What is development? There is no need for me to develop anything. Automatically, my database is creating different tables, right? I can create different databases I want, and I can create different things. Okay, automatically I just need to click on the table button and my table is created. I just have to go on entering the data, automatically my records are created, right? So reducing my development time and maintenance also. There's no need for me to maintain. Whatever is the structure given to it, whoever are the authorized people, whatever is the security, whatever is the privacy measures given, all that thing is managed itself, right? So there's no need for me to go on for developing and no need for maintaining also. So both the things are possible with the help of DBMS. I can reduce my application development time also and maintenance time also. Okay, it supports many important functions that are common to many applications. It supports many important functions also, okay, that are common to many applications. Now, if I have my DBMS, okay, if I have my Access, if I have my Oracle, okay, these are different database systems. So if I have one data, I can access it also with the help of many different DBMS, many different applications, okay, which facilitates the quick development of application, right? I have to just store the data once, and that would be used by many applications. Okay, so maintenance, application, development, everything is very quick with the help of DBMS. No need for me to go on creating the data for all the other applications. I can just store the data once and I can use it many different times. Okay, understood with the advantages. Reduce data redundancy, sharing up of data, data integrity, data security, privacy, data backup and recovery, development and maintenance time. Okay, now types of data types in the DBMS. What are the different data types? What we can see? Okay, you can create a table or add fields into a table in the database. Fields are created with specific data type. Data types are classifications that identify possible values for an operations that can be done on the data. Okay, the data type tells me that what kind of calculation you can do. If the data is certain characters, I cannot add the characters. I can just add the numbers, right? But I can concatenate two characters. Okay, so depends on the data type, I can go for operations as well as the way the data in the field is stored in the database. Everything matters with the type of data. Okay, now see here, different types of data types. First is text. I have text can be in the form of character, char, or varchar. Now, what does the character holds? Holds a fixed length string. Okay, and here holds a variable length string. Now here it can contain letters, numbers, and special characters, but the size is fixed because it holds only fixed length. Okay, but here the size may vary. Okay, I am telling the user that maximum size should be this much, and you can write in that this particular size. Okay, so varchar is the varying character. Variable length has this character, but this char is having fixed number of characters. Okay, so first data type is text. Next data type is numeric. In numeric, I have decimal data type and int data type. Decimal, it can represent number or numbers with or without functional part, fractional part. Okay, so it's a decimal point numbers. And int, it is used for storing integer values. Okay, whichever values are integer form, they are used to store in the int. Okay, then this is with decimal points and this is without decimal points. Then is date. Date also, sometimes I need to store the date also. So the date is in date format and it holds the date including the day, month and year. Next is the time. Class teachers, your attention. Time data type. Last year's speech. The students will be sitting outside the class. I repeat,
Students, those who have not cleared last year's fee will be sitting outside the class today.
Okay, so the time data type is there, and that time it holds time format as hours, minute, and seconds. So I have text, numbers, date, time. I have data types as char, varchar, decimal, int, date, and time. Okay. Now you have scored 75.56% in the recent examination. Which data type would you prefer to use for storing the data? Which data type I'll use? I will use the numeric, but in numeric I will use decimal because it is decimal numbers. Okay. Next, data model. What do you mean by data model? There is a model, there is a designing, there is an architecture done for the database. Excuse me. Okay. So if I am designing a particular house, if I'm designing a particular bungalow, that means I can design my database. Okay. So database is designed according to certain rules. This logical structure of database is known as model. Okay, I'm giving certain structure to my database, the logical structure. Okay, that is called as model. The data models define how the data is connected to each other and how they are processed and stored inside the system. Okay, how they are processed, how they are stored, where is the data stored, how are they connected, all that thing I can see in the data model. It describes the method of storing and retrieving the data, how I am storing and how I can retrieve the data. The method is given in the model. There are different models like network model, hierarchical model, and a relational model. Okay, three types of models are there, and many more are there. But in your subject, in your lesson, we are going to study network, hierarchical, and relational. Okay, let us understand relational models. The most popular data model in DBMS. Most popular, okay? Everyone use this data model. Which relational model? Okay. And the relational data model is the primary data model. Who is the primary data model? Relational model, which is used widely around the world for data storage and processing. Okay, I want to store and process the data, so I am using this relational model. This model is simple and has all the properties and capabilities required to process data with storage efficiency. Okay, this model is very simple to use and has many different properties plus capabilities also, which are required to process the data and store efficiently. Right? So a transaction. Now in this model, we have a transaction. What do you mean by transaction? A transaction is a unit of work that is performed against a database. So if I say I have debited the money or I have credited the money. Okay, so each thing is called as a transaction. Right? So minute work I am doing with the database is called a transaction. For example, if you are creating a record or updating a record or deleting a record from the table, then you are performing a transaction on the table. Whichever work you are doing with the table is called a transaction. It is important to control these transactions to ensure the data integrity and to handle database errors. Right? Why is this handled properly? Why are the transactions taken care of? Because it shouldn't have data, duplicate data, plus the data shouldn't have any errors. Okay, so these things are possible with the help of transactions. Okay. Properties of transactions. Now, what are the different properties of transactions? Transactions have the following four standard properties, usually referred to as by the acronym ACID. Okay, ACID. A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I isolation, and D durability. So in short, we call it as ACID. Properties of transaction, ACID. Okay. Now, atomicity. What do you mean by this? It ensures that all operations within the work unit are completed successfully. Okay, whatever is the work pending. Okay, now what do you mean by pending is if I keep some files for downloading, fine. So it takes time to download, but DBMS or the transaction takes care. DBMS takes care that the transaction is fulfilled, the transaction is completed. Okay, and that too successfully. If I am downloading something, if I am updating something, okay, so it takes time, but the DBMS sees to it that the work unit is completed. Otherwise, the transaction is aborted at the point of failure, and all the previous operations are rolled back to their former state. Okay, now when you are entering or filling up certain e-forms, okay, certain forms online, and you are stuck somewhere, okay, it's not going ahead or something like that, some failure occurs once you have completed page 1 and page 2, page 3 is also remaining. Okay, so if you complete first and second and some error occurs, some failure occurs, then the full action is rolled up, and if you say refresh, you are back to your first page and which is blank. Okay, why this happens is because the data what I am storing, okay, the data what I am storing, if that entry is incomplete and I am again entering the data, then that entry, it creates multiple copies, and that too wrong multiple copies, because first copy is incomplete and second I'm trying to insert, right? So both the transactions are discarded, and then you are rolled back and you start from the first stage. Okay, because of this, what happens? Correct the transaction, only one single copy of that is stored in the database, right? So that is atomicity. Next is consistency. It ensures that the database properly changes states upon a successful committed transaction. Okay, it changes the states. Now, what do you mean by changes the states?
Your attention. Today's dictation, you can conduct it later on. I repeat.
Okay, consistency is I am consistent. Now I ensure that the database properly changes its state. Okay, previously it was that I am saving the data. Okay, I am entering the data. I've entered the data, now I have saved it. Okay, once the record is saved, now I am in the next stage. That means I can update the data. Okay, I am not in the current same stage. Ki I have to enter and enter and enter. No, once it is entered, the stage changes. Okay, and then I am in the next mode of modifying it, updating it. Right. So this consistency is properly maintained by the DBMS. Okay. Next is isolation. It enables transactions to operate independently of the transparent and the transparent to each other. Okay, if I have one transaction, I am doing it, I am updating a particular data, right? So that particular data is updated. It doesn't update all the other records. No, only one record is updated, that is saved, but it is transparent. I can see, the others also can see the updated data, right? So isolation, ideally doing it independently, doing the transactions are operating. Yeah. Okay. Next is durability. Now it ensures that the result or effect of a committed transaction persists in the case of a system failure. Durability is is the system durable? What we say it as, is my mobile durable? That if some occurs, if some failure occurs, or if my mobile is hanged, then what is the situation? Can I get the data recovered back, or what I need to do? Okay, so that is durability. How durable it is. Okay, so transactions tell us that if the system crashes, if the system fails, but then too the transactions are safe, transactions will persist. Okay, whatever effect we are given, or I have saved it, or I have edited it, or I have deleted it, all those things will be shown, will be safe. Okay, if at all the system failure occurs. So I have atomicity. Okay, all the operations work within the unit are completed successfully. Consistency, it checks whether the state